An update to a story the KVUE Defenders first brought to you on Monday. A Travis County judge has now rescinded her order, which would have paid jurors nearly $27,000 each for listening to 3 days of testimony in a high-profile trial.
Judge Karen Sage signed that order today in the now dismissed case against former Williamson County Sheriff Robert Chody and former Assistant County Attorney Jason Nassour. KVUE senior reporter Tony Plahetsky is here with us. Tony, so this comes after a lot of backlash over the judge's initial decision.
With experts nationally saying, how could this happen? But keep in mind, the judge said today, and she made a point in her new order to essentially say that both parties who were part of this conversation, both the defense who brought this order, but also the state and an assistant director from the Travis County District Attorney's Office actually said in that hearing that he agreed, that the state agreed to extraordinary measures to pay these jurors who were really left in limbo for almost 2 years while this happened. Judge Sage went on to say in her order today that she was then struck by the fact that the district attorney called all of this absurd, and she said, Mark and Ashley, that incongruity, that discrepancy between what the state said, what the prosecution said in court, and what the district attorney said publicly, she said was frankly troubling to her.
It was a big debate over the last week here, and as we look back, this was an unusual order to start. So how unusual is this order? How often do you see it? And then how often do you see a judge rescind an order like this?
This whole case was frankly complicated from the word go. And the fact that mid-trial, 3 days into a trial, the prosecution called a timeout and said, Judge, we want to appeal one of your rulings to a higher court, and the judge stopping the trial, that is almost unheard of. It does happen from time to time, but it's highly unusual. Then when you have that coupled with the fact that that appeal lasted not just several days, but almost 2 years, that is one of the reasons that the judge was on the record saying that she wanted to compensate those jurors for their time. Even though they weren't coming to court, they were still having to be available. They were still not able to talk about the case. They were not able to read news reports about the case. And the judge determined that she believed, at least initially, that that is something that they should have been compensated for.
Yeah, and the point you made, having to be available, meaning you may have had to put vacations or something like that on hold because you can't go. You might get called back to court. So really, Tony, I mean, what happens now? What are these jurors going to get, if anything?
Well, District Clerk Velva Price, whose office is ultimately responsible for paying the jurors, said that she is going to follow the law. And according to Texas law, jurors are entitled to about $58 a day for their service. So we're seeing what they possibly could have been paid, $27,000. We're seeing that amount go down now to about $175.
No doubt those jurors are feeling a little some way about it today.
I think they are. And some of them, I understand, were actually calling the county and saying, you know, do you have my correct address? I'm ready for my money.
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
That 175.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But we put a period on this for now.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks for Tony for keeping up on that throughout the process.